Alliance Service Alliance community. How y'all doing today?
I feel like we hit the brakes at the end of that. Can we edit that down and like fade it? Zach,
Yeah.
Matt, the IT guy that you are?
Well, I'll have to see if I can get the file from EJ, and I'll work on that.
I mean, I love the intro. I need to play. I play that on the way to the office every morning, by the way, just so I can get rumped up and get ready.
Good morning. There's a strange lull around the 15-20 second mark that it just dives down, and you're like, "Whoa, where's this going?" And then it's
just kind of
love it. Love it. Yep.
Well, yeah, I'll get that file. We'll get that corrected. How's everyone doing today? We all doing good?
Yeah. Well, it just started, right?
We had good conversation in the pre-roll, so I'm excited to bring that level to the real show.
I'm tuckered out. Actually, I don't have anything else to add.
You're tired. You give up.
I had a really cool first yesterday.
Oh.
I was an on-the-spot LG compressor that I had in stock. I had the compressor in stock, and I went ahead and knocked it out right there on the spot. It was the first time I've done that ever in my entire career.
A COD one or warranty one that you'll get authorization later?
It was a COD.
COD. Nice.
Yeah, I love having, like, when you have that stuff in stock and you can get that stuff done right. Justin said it before, and EJ's experienced it too. Like, it's very much an impulse for a COD.
It can be.
Warranty customers a different animal, but when they're looking at it, could be a week, it could be 14 days, whatever. Wait, they got it? Yeah, I'm going to pay that money. I'd rather pay it, So that's cool.
Yesterday, I had a terrible experience because I was in about an hour and a half from home bringing my daughter for college placement exams, and I needed to use the facility. Normally, I like to use it at home. When I was on the road, I would take a 45-minute ride home in the middle of my schedule, right? So I went to Home Depot because I heard that they take care of contractors there, and they sure do. There was like a long line, and that made me feel even creepier, by the way. But while I was waiting to use the facility, I'm walking around the appliance section, and I could not find a dishwasher for less than $710. So $710 to $1,200. They even had a GE monogram or some type of top of the line profile dishwasher for $1,400, which should be against the law, right, for GE to sell a dishwasher for that price. But all the refrigerators were $1,800 and up. And so I feel like as a technician, I want to do my next breakfast meeting. It should be a field trip to Home Depot first. You imagine like 15 guys in their uniforms walking around the aisles and then just critiquing the crap out of it. And then we go to a diner. But they need to know that when the customer goes, "Are you kidding me? $420 to fix the dishwasher. I can go buy a new one." It's not that easy to do. And so perspective is important. But
yeah, it was always one of my favorite things to do was walk around the hardware stores and kind of get an idea, because that helped me as a technician go, it's not really going to be worth your time. And because I always came from the approach of like, I want to be honest with them, right? Like I want to give them a fair set of options, not because I didn't want to do the work, although I hate dishwashers and like I didn't have to do dishwashers. I would, but in reality, like it was more just like, what's fair for the customer? What's right for the customer? Because we prided ourselves in giving them the best option, whether it was a repair or replace, and so that was always a good way to
yeah, you gotta know what's going on out there. Our competition is sales, right? I mean,
right,
most of the time. So
who wants to price in? You want to price in, Doug? You want me to price in? What do you want to do?
I don't know. Let me I'll go. I'll price in. Good morning, God. We thank you so much. You are the creator of everything. You are perfect. And with all that you've done and made, and that we stand in awe of, the thing you made that is the most impressive is this sacrificial love. You are the originator and creator of it. And as we take care of our customers and take care of our employees and love our families and serve our families and neighbors, we need to have that sacrificial love in our hearts. And so we just call on you today, and that your spirit will be in this meeting, and that you'll inspire all who listens, just a little bit or a ton, to love our neighbors as ourselves, and to have that sacrificial love in our heart, driving us and fueling us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
So the scripture that I'm pulling from today, we're going into the Old Testament.
Rescue and redeem.
Yeah. 2 Samuel 23. This is kind of like David's reflections towards the end of his life from how I've read this. And so 2 Samuel 23, if you start at 8, he talks about his mightiest warriors, right? And so he's got 3 men that were extremely close to him, right? Extremely close. They were his 3 famous mighty men, whatever. And then he had 30, right? There was 30 mighty men that were alongside of him. These were like his, so he's got the 30 and he's got the 3. And this is of 600 that eventually followed him. So if you go back all the way to 1 Samuel, he starts off with like 200 guys following him as King Saul is trying to kill him. He's literally got the king that he's supposed to replace, who he's best friends with his son, chasing him all over a couple countries, trying to kill him. Okay. That kind of sets the story. And so 200 join him, and then it becomes 300, and then it becomes 600. Okay. And so where I'm going with this, we're going to kind of follow with what EJ and Scott were talking about yesterday, as far as retaining people, right? So you kind of have the scene. David is supposed to be the king. He's going to be the next king, and he's running through the wilderness and sleeping in caves and just like fighting for his life, essentially. And these men come alongside him. Drunks and disparaged, people in debt, right? Just like not the people you would expect, but they're mighty warriors, right? And they go on these, I don't know, this is a couple years worth of time. They follow David, okay? And in 1 Samuel, there's a passage that's kind of buried, and it's when they're looking for food along this campaign, and they go to a priest, and the priest says, well, like all we have is the holy bread, and you guys can't have that because like this is like it's a set apart bread, and like it's as priests, like we haven't been with our wives or whatever, right? And David goes, oh no, you don't understand. Like I don't let my guys, like none of us, when we go on a campaign, we're not with our wives. We don't do that, right? Like not doing the horizontal mambo. It's so funny just like to look at that. And he goes, and how much more important is this campaign? Like we're literally fighting to stay alive. Like this campaign is just that much. So they're on these like years long quest far away from their family. And these men follow him into battle constantly through these years, away from their families. And as I read this, I'm going, it's not David that inspired that. Yeah, sure. Maybe he was an okay leader at some point, and then eventually he became a great king, right? But he's still a guy, right? He's still screwed up time and time again. But
wasn't he the one that stole Bathsheba?
Yeah. He's got 2 wives already. His third wife got sold off by the guy chasing him, right?
He's not perfect.
He goes and he steals another guy's wife after killing. Like, so the point is that these guys didn't follow him because he was a great leader, a great man, but they bought into a vision. What David was chasing was actually a higher vision than himself. He was chasing a calling from God. He was chasing what he believed to be true and what these men believed to be true. They bought into the vision. So how does that apply to us in business? Ooh, that's where the discussion's heading. And Andrew, you kind of brought something up from Doug from the other day, and I think it ties into this beautifully. I mean, I think this conversation kind of flows in. And I'll have you take the floor and we'll kind of bounce from there. But yeah.
Did you not want to read the actual verse? You just told the story. That's it. I got
Yeah,
it's a long verse.
It's super long. So like if you go to 2 Samuel 23:8, it's like it's a lot.
You paraphrased it.
8 through 39. It's basically a laundry list of the deeds of the mighty three. If you've never read it, 2 Samuel 23:8, it's a laundry list of the things that the mighty three did. And then he goes into like
well, there are three mighty warriors that actually had battles that were as epic as David's was with more. Goliath. Yeah. They were just as much heroic generals as David was, and those people were loyal to David. To your point, Zach, why were they loyal to David? Because there was a vision that God anointed David, and they all bought into that vision. They believed in that.
I don't remember their names, but there was about ultimately the message was prayer, devotion, and servitude. The first one was about he put his rod in the sky, and he did a lot of prayer. He raised his hands to God and asked for help 800 times or something like that. The second one clung to his sword until his hand wouldn't come off the sword, and that's devotion. And then the third one was, I don't remember what he did, but it was ultimately about servitude. And I kind of identify with the E. I can't recall their names, but the devotion part. He clung to his sword until his hand wouldn't let go. And that to me that's a message by itself. I am devoted to, in this case, appliance repair. I don't want to let go of my sword. I want to fix everything that's put in front of me. And that's a kind of a strange devotion to work, but I really do enjoy what I do. Therefore, I'm clinging to my sword to my very last breath. I don't want to give up. So that's part of my vision.
By the way, one of the ones highlighted in that was also a Hittite. He wasn't even Jewish.
Yeah.
So he was a mighty warrior that bought into the vision, right? Which big picture says you don't have to be of this, of Jewish faith. We are all welcome to be devoted and fight to the end.
And there was a fourth guy that was in the Mighty Men that wasn't one of the famous one that still killed 300 guys with his spear and then became like in charge of everyone when David became king. Like, and this guy wasn't even the most famous of them. So like somewhere along the way, they picked up an Egyptian slave that like then became just like a brother in the rest of.
Well, and just to put things in context of the story, because we're probably, for those who may not get a chance to read it, they find David in the cave, or they go and seek him out, and he's thirsty. And so they all go and bust through the Philistine line, fight to get to a well, because David said, I want water from this particular well. They go and get the water, bring it back, fight their way back. And then he pours the water on the ground and says, I'm not worthy of drinking it. Right.
God has blessed this water. Yeah. Like
that God has blessed this water. And I'm, so that it is a great story. I hope we've enticed you all to go there and to take a look at it, because there's so much in it,
Yeah. I just wanted to give you guys like a little piece to kind of begin to highlight it, because I feel like when we read it on our own, there's so much more power in like, going like
we see it differently.
All right. Like I hear a little bit of the story. What's this all about? So, but like, so they were bought into the vision. Right. And so we were talking about that the other day a little bit, Doug, when we were talking about like how we retain, and how sometimes like, Andrew read a quote from it in the pre-roll, but basically like you and I were talking, I had several employees that weren't bought into the vision, and that was my fault as a leader. Like I hadn't established a clear vision. And so like there's a perfect example of, well, I can be a good leader, right? Like I have moments of being a good leader, but that's not what they bought into. They didn't buy into the vision because they didn't cast the vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had an employee that was a bit of poisoning the well. However, because he was able to buy into the vision, that kind of changed, right?
Yeah. Over time. Yeah, absolutely.
What does that look like to cast that or be bought in? I mean, we've all worked for companies. Some of us have left companies.
Well, and I in the pre-roll, I didn't know that Andrew was actually quoting me, which felt very creepy. But I kind of
I wrote it down.
vaguely remember saying that, and and I almost disagreed with you as you were reading that quote, Andrew. So every day, it's a really struggle. So if you don't mind sharing those three sort of different directions that we should be concerned about, right? And which is worse or better.
I'm going to read your words and then I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. Somebody has a high callback rate, someone who underquotes, and someone who's done at 3 o'clock because he's made enough money. Okay. The first one costs you money. High callback rate, that costs the company money. Second one, underquoting, it doesn't make enough money. Okay. Those are very boss things to think about. The third one is it's 3 o'clock and he's done. Therefore, he's lazy. He's not doing his job. He's not doing what is expected of the family. And that one you called toxic. Your word was toxic. And you said, I do not want him. Do you hear me? I don't want him at our company. And that was a really hard thing for me to hear because at 3 o'clock, after making a good day's hard work, sometimes that extra call will hurt that day. And that's a big deal, right? You don't want to go home thinking, why did I take that extra call, man? It ruined everything. Now I don't want to go to work tomorrow because I took that one extra call. That one extra call ruined my entire week. Now I can't get over it. It's a black cloud for the next 30 days.
Yeah.
And that was hard to hear that's toxic. Now, if 5 out of 6, he's like, sure, yeah, I'll pick that up for you. It's not a big deal. But then that 6th one is the one that you focused on. Maybe you want to take a step back and think about what caused me to think that was toxic. What did that guy do, or what was going on that day that became toxic all of a sudden? Actually, your words were, you have somebody who kills it most of the time and then says something random to you. It's a little before 3 o'clock and I'm done. Finished up his last call, booked out for days, and you say, can you take an extra refrigerator call? It's 10 minutes away. Nah, I made enough money for today. I made $2,000 today. I'm taking home my $420 and I don't need any more calls. And that's what you heard. I don't need any more calls because I made my money today. Maybe he's thinking, you know what? This day is only going to go downhill from here.
Yeah.
I know that I'm going to take this home with me. If I pick up one more, I'm having a great day. But you heard, I don't want any more calls. I don't want any more money.
Yeah.
I was curious how that could relate to, can you change that? Was that you, or, is there a way to make that guy think that it's not just about your money today, it's actually about the greater good of our customers,
That's right. That's right. Because all three options, as you kind of paraphrase the effect of them, you can sit in different chairs from different perspectives and say, high callback rate means we lose money. They lose money, their commission, but I don't even care about money. I never care about money. Money always follows. The callbacks make that customer have a very bad experience. They had to take another day off from work. They could have prevented it if they never called tech support, if they just guessed at it a second time. That's all bad for the customer. Underquoting your jobs will put you out of business, and you can't take care of your customers. You won't be there for your customers. For you one-man shows that think that you don't have to quote and charge for things that you don't have now, but you need later. You need to start charging now because you're not going to be around possibly. And if you are around, well, good luck and lucky to you, but it's all random and it's, you know what I mean? So it's all about being around. And that same one, it's the customer who's calling in and saying, my refrigerator's down and it's a Friday and I need us to take care of our customer. And I don't think working a 9-hour day instead of a 7-hour day is unreasonable. Now, if they already worked a 10-hour day, Andrew, how about if you were grinding out 10, 12-hour days all week, and then that Friday comes around, it wouldn't even come in my head to call on you, Andrew, and say, could you take care of this refrigerator? I'm balancing employees and customers and the business's health. I wouldn't even bother, but if all my guys work 40 hours around 40 hours every week, for them to take that one call, it really stabs me in the heart, because they're not thinking about our customers. They're thinking about themselves, and we can't be that. We're servants.
And I think that's where the whole conversation goes, right? It's buying into the vision. And so it's not about you, right, as the leader of that particular point, Doug, right? Like it's not that personal attack. It's not, oh, this guy just doesn't want to listen to me. It's a much deeper thing, because I have a feeling that leading up to the situation, leading up to that, though I don't know, but I know you well enough to know that there was other indicators that he wasn't bought into the vision,
of course,
of the company.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what you can't have within any organization, right? Like you need people that are bought into that vision. You don't go on a campaign. You don't be away from because how often are we as appliance technicians away from our families?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot.
It is.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And you don't buy into that as a person, right? Like it's Andrew, right? Like I'm coming to work for you, and you want me to be gone from my family 60 hours a week just because like we got to take care of customers, and that's what it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not following you, Andrew, but I'm following the vision that's
right.
past.
That's right.
Right. Like same thing, Doug, like, oh yeah, you got a great company, but it's the vision, it's the greater mission that's behind it that I think people.
And I'm a tech forever. I mean, I was a tech since 1988. These guys sometimes forget. You don't just go home, most of us, and just punch out and then you're all good. You kind of need to unwind after a long day of driving and heat and cranky customers and difficult appliances and dealing with employees that screwed up. You don't just punch out, walk in the door, right? So I haven't forgotten that. So if you put in a 9 or 10 hour day at work, you still got an hour to decompress when you get home. This is back to your point, Zach, that we do in our industry sacrifice a lot for that bigger, greater cause of the vision statement, which is to take care of our customers, right? And think about, and just one thought about David's men, the 3 men that go and get him some water from a particular well that's behind enemy lines,
Bethlehem.
And then the dude pours it out on the ground. I am sure that's not the first time that David, under under his leadership, that he went and did big picture, high vision crap like that, and they're still following him. So they might have, because we're all human, went, what the hell is wrong with that guy? But they're going to default to God anointed him, and we have seen the evidence of God, and God has cared for us. And so even though this makes no sense, I trust in David because I trust in the Lord. And I am not trying to be a David to my people, but I wish that they would more assume the best about me and trust that if I'm asking them to do something, I know that their day is not just when they punch out from the last call, that they got to decompress, that they have families, but we got to take care of the customer. And when I'm asking, please buy into it. And I am full of grace, by the way, Andrew. If, like Zach pointed out, if there's not a bunch of red flags with that particular guy and someone declines it, my dispatcher, he's bummed. He's like, what is wrong with that guy? I work more hours than him. He makes double the money I do. What a jerk. And I pull that guy aside and say, listen, you can't say that out loud. You don't know what it's like. Matter of fact, my dispatcher now wants to be a technician. So he must have heard that conversation a couple of times. And now I have to talk to him about the possibility of doing that or not. But, it's about buy-in and mindset, Andrew. That's where it's all coming from, right?
I love that you mind read me about the 3 men who went and got the water from Bethlehem. So that was actually what I was going to say next. They went an extra mile. And I'll tell you, the part of the story that was crazy was David was super pissed off. Where are these three guys? I don't understand where they've gone. And then they come back with this water, and he starts to tear up. He's like, I'm not worthy of this. Thank you, but I don't want this. Thank you for being there for me. But it was a pretty neat part of that story was those three guys, or anyone who goes the extra mile for that matter. It does mean something, right? I mean, the guy that picks up that extra call at 3:00, it really does mean something.
Mm-hmm. If we're assuming the best, about one another all the time, and trust each other, then it's easy to look at that story of David and go, okay, I get it. But in the midst of it, and you didn't get enough sleep the night before, or some customer was really rude to you and your grace tank is pretty empty, it is hard to see that. And so we as leaders, Andrew, as soon as you bring some people on, you have to install the extra grace tank over here under your liver so that it can be filled up and ready to be patient to let them buy in. Because I did get an employee that started with me 9 years ago, and he said those kinds of things all the time, very selfishly said, started making crazy money and coming in with Apple iWatches and, like, I don't want your crappy little tablet you bought me. He's buying his own iPad Pro and he's just spending his money. And I pulled him aside. I said, start filling up your 401k, dude. Be careful. I made that mistake. I'm behind now. And 9 years later, I am so proud of this guy. I have wept after he's left my office on a couple occasions, tears of joy, to see him graduate to a place where he's grown up and matured and he's bought into our vision statement. But that's one and only a few, right?
I think we all pass through that, though. I mean, that first 2 years, you get some giant cojones, right? All of a sudden, your confidence level just goes sky high. You're the king of the world. And then at 5 years, you're like, I better start paying attention. And then at 10 years, you're like, man, where did the time go? I don't know squat. Everything's passing me by. So we all go through that.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring up a comment from Foreman, and we can look at this in a couple different. I actually, this is kind of where I wanted to go. So this is a great time to go into this. So Foreman says, I think it's okay to be a little selfish. Not doing so can have unforeseen consequences. And I think that speaks to what you were saying, Doug, is like, you're looking at balancing that. Like, you're not asking guys to not have self-care or girls to have self-care, right? Like, sometimes it's just literally like, hey, like, I just can't. Like, I cannot, in the right place, take this call today. Like, I'm not. That's different than saying, no, screw you. Like, I made enough money. I'm good. Peace. Like, those are two very different. Those are two very different statements.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And then the other side of this, right? Like, kind of going bought into the vision. Andrew, you started your own company, man. Like, you came from a company. You weren't fully bought into the vision or to the leadership or to whatever the case is, right? That doesn't mean it's wrong. I'm just saying, like, as leaders in a company, we have to look at those things. Like, people are going to come and go. People are going to have different mindsets. They're going to have different thought processes, right? But we want people that follow that same vision. We don't want them to follow us necessarily. We want them to follow the vision. That's where that company culture comes in. I think. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I know I'm not special, but I felt I could cry, to be quite honest with you, not knowing, right? That question of, did I make the right decision, was a big deal. I don't know if it was the right call, but I know that I would have beat myself up either way, staying or not staying. I had to make something happen. So I don't know that it was selfish. I really did have a vision. I really did have something that I was working towards. But was it the right call? Only time will tell, right?
A befuddled owner. You've made it, dude. You're right. That's where you need to be. You need to be questioning and saying, did I make the right decision? Because it's going to happen moving forward all the time, Andrew. And so
Sure.
I'm enjoying watching you go through this process. You know, that guy, Scott, who was on yesterday with EJ. Of course, I can identify with him because he started out and led with, it's really hard to find good people. And so you got to just take care of them, which, you know, paraphrase, you got to eat a lot of crap. And you got to just give them a lot of extra chances. And there are going to be some people that see that in your company and are grateful. And then there are going to be others that exploit it. And you have to be okay with potentially being exploited until they either come around or they move out. I have a guy who just gave his notice while I was on vacation, his 2-week notice. He wasn't buying in. And a lot of little red flags popping up like, oh, I can't jig this board. I'm not even going to try. You should just change the board. So there's another refrigerator call that now has to go through the weekend until next week. He didn't care. And I need him. He needs to take care of the customers. But consistency in his red flags. Today he called out sick in his 2 weeks notice. So no surprise, we just got to go through this. So Andrew, as you find the strong warriors that come work for you, make sure that you cast that vision and mission statement, which I know you buy into and think about all the time, and be prepared to co-lead, because I don't want to do this by myself. And I don't think you do either. You got to find the extra Andrews.
I'm trying to figure that out. Do I want to do this by myself, or do I want to have I don't think I want to have guys under me at this point. I don't want to be a boss. That's the whole reason I wanted to stay at the company I was at, was because I had a good boss. It was easy.
Yeah.
And now, I don't know that I want to do that.
Yeah. You're going to have fun. You're going to have fun, Andrew. It'll come. It'll be a flip switch in your head. Just like Zach, a switch flipped in his head one day and he goes, wait a minute. I'm not supposed to be in the appliance repair business, but he was swimming uphill for so long. And now I'm taking your testimony and maybe even twisting it and paraphrasing it in a way that you didn't mean it. But he also, he says he's not a good leader. He's not a good communicator. He's not patient and kind, but he was swimming uphill. He was a grouchy MF doing something he didn't want to do. So in my opinion, Zach, you're not able to say, you're not qualified to say I was a bad leader, because you were under really difficult circumstances. Just like you, Andrew, you were stuck in this purgatory of hell going, if I don't leave, I'm going to be pissed. If I leave and it's hard or it doesn't work out, I'm going to be pissed. You needed to do this. This is a journey you have to do. So be prepared to change your mind, to a switch flips in your brains. So don't write your narrative in permanent ink, please. All right. Because I'm prepared to erase mine, and there you go, and fix it all the time.
Well, I think in fairness, I think in that situation, I was not a good leader. I definitively can say that I was not a good leader in that situation. There are certain moments where I can be a good, we had that conversation the other day. Like, I see areas where I am leading well, whether it's at church or whatever, right? Like, there's areas where I am leading well. So I have the potential to be a good leader, right? But I think in that particular situation, I didn't apply those principles, right? The things that we talk about day in, day out, I don't think I applied them well. And I think in that situation, it did make me a bad leader. Now, that is not to say that can't be overcome with vision. If the overall vision is greater, right? So if the overall vision is greater, then you're going to have those mighty men or women, whatever. We're just using men because we're just following. Just follow for a second. You'll have those mighty men come alongside you. Mm-hmm. And when you don't have the strength to push through, those mighty men are going to go behind enemy lines and they're going to get water for you, and they're going to come back and you're going to be like, oh crap, I'm not worthy of this, right? Like, those moments are going to happen. Mm-hmm. If the vision is bigger than yourself.
Yep.
One of the questions, so where the final switch flipped was sitting with Dean Landers at ASTI in the room, and he tells a story. And he's telling the story, and I'm listening. And Dean knows exactly what he's doing. If you've ever met Dean Landers, he knew exactly what he was doing when he's telling the story. It was a bit like a Doug parable. And he's like, yeah, so I got these people, and like they're trying to figure out their why and this, that, and the other thing. And he's going through the whole thing. I got two, and this is what they're saying to me. And all of a sudden it was like a switch. I went, crap.
You figured out your why.
And he goes, what? I'm like, my why for the appliance business is garbage. And he's like, what do you mean? My why is money, right? Like, I bought an existing business. I've literally worked for 6 years to pay the loans off, like, for buying an existing business. Like, my why was always money. My vision was never beyond being able to survive to the next day.
Yeah.
You can't function on that. You can't inspire. You can't lead. You can't grow from a vision that's that big.
Yep.
You can't do it. And so, where Andrew, you're in a great position. You're asking yourself the question. You don't know. But if your why is big enough and your vision is cast wide enough, you don't know what could happen, right? My why for what I'm doing right now, it's not small. It is not small. And my why walking alongside EJ and Justin and Mike and TK in the Service Alliance, the why in that, the vision in that, way, way, way bigger than us. Right?
It's exciting. It's exciting and nerve-wracking and stressful, and you're going to fail. But if you don't aim for 100 miles down the road and you get 50, right? That was a lot farther than if you were casting a mile down the road. So It's a perfect analogy. Exactly.
TK's original vision had a lot of followers really quick, right? A lot of us jumped on that bandwagon right away. So, I mean, it's kind of neat that that's transpired into what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool.
I agree. There's a vast difference from the Appliance Alliance to all other communities, including UASA and ASTI traditionally in the past. Just very cliquey, very judgmental, very negative at times, and not a brother lifting a brother up type thing. So what a beautiful place this is, I'll tell you. Very grateful for this community.
I think the transparency is really neat too, right? We have talks, we have open mic nights, we have, everybody's allowed to be part of this in every way.
Yep.
You can take the same thing to your own companies. Like, that's the point, guys. Like that.
That's right. That's right.
You've heard the five of us say this, right? And you've heard the other ones that have come along as guests, like Andrew and Doug, right? You've heard us all say this. We lead by example. We're trying to inspire you to take some of these principles to your own company. Be open, be transparent, cast this massive, crazy, stupid big vision.
Oh, yeah.
What happens?
Yeah, I got 6 things going. I guarantee at least 2 of them are bombing like a rock right now, and I'm okay with it because I wouldn't have probably not gotten these 3 things going that are doing really well because my vision wasn't far enough out. I used to say, it was just less than 2 months ago, I'm having a lot of fun trying out new things. And once all things were moving, and then you got to tweak and create process. Just before vacation last week, I was like, I hate my life right now. This sucks. This is completely not working. This needs to be babysat. This is working good, but was it worth all that crap? But you're going through these waves, and it's really hard to see through the weeds when you're in that. Sometimes you just kind of got to persevere through it. Matter of fact, I said this once before. I remember it was like 2018 ASTI. My phone's blowing up. dude. I'm in Florida and I'm answering all these calls, emails, texts. Everybody's needing my help. And I am walking through the foyer of the hotel feeling like a hero. Like, I am so busy. I'm so amazing. At that moment, I didn't have clarity that the best type of leader is the last ASTI, where I made 2 phone calls the entire week. And I have these team of leaders, these warriors that are bought into the vision, and I humbly trust them, and they know that, and that empowers them, that excites them, that I believe in them, and they lead to the best of their ability. And I think the 2 phone calls I took was they needed confirmation that they made a good call, and I just celebrated with them in that moment. Dude, you nailed it. Is that what you would have done? No, but you nailed it, man. You did it. That was perfect. Is the customer happy? Yeah. Is the employee not bleeding anymore? No. All right, you did it. Good job. So that's when you know you hit it. But sometimes you're in the weeds, and that's cool too. That's fun too. That puts the character on you. So,
Scott had an anecdote yesterday about his office manager making a decision without consulting him, and he was upset. He was like, gosh, why did they do that? But then he took a step back and he realized that was the perfect thing. It may not have been what I wanted to do, like you said. It didn't matter. They did it. It's done. I don't have to deal with it. And that was his anecdote was more about don't worry about everything. Let the people that you've hired trust them, right? And
that's right. Yeah. And push it, Andrew. It's not about they handled it. They took care of it. I didn't have to deal with it. No. They dealt with it, and they're super excited about it. They're like, that's that's what their high is right now. It's like, wow, I'm driving this ship right now, and I led us through. And that's the part where you're like, that is awesome. That's awesome. I'm working my way out of a job. That's what I'm trying to do. And then I got to say to Jay, what else can we do? Because there's no room for me here at Action. We've got the leadership set up. We're cruising. What else can we do together, Jay? You want to open a Jiffy Loop? Because I'm ready. Let's do this.
That's an entire, that's a whole nother topic there. Like, that's the pinnacle of leadership, right? Like, that's what we strive for. And that, I mean, that's, yes, we're just kind of glossing over it today, but that's what we're trying to share with you. That's what we're trying to inspire, awaken within you. Begin to ask those questions. Am I doing this right? Did I make the right decision? Am I leading well? Am I casting vision right? Because as leaders, our job isn't to boss people around, right? But it is to point them to the vision. It is to point them to something that's bigger than themselves. It is to celebrate them when they catch that vision, when they latch on and they're like, oh, yeah, I did this thing. And then you get to celebrate with them, whether it's what you would have done or not. It's within the bounds of that vision that's bigger than you.
There's only so many 50s in the petty cash box, though.
Yeah. Well, oh, wow.
True. I mean,
do you guys like my needle nose video?
Yeah, I missed that.
Hey, by the way, prayer warriors out there. One of my texts, I won't mention his name because I don't know if he's on here or not, but he just was confirmed with bladder cancer, and so it can go really well where they take it out, and or it could be where whatever he loses, his whole bladder. So pray for my tech. He's a Christian too, so I'm going to be watching and praying alongside him, but I'm going to see God working through him, and that's going to give me strength and power and just to see him carry through, because we all can, when we're on our own will and our own strength, we are feeling great, aren't we? But it's that little one domino falls a little faster than you thought, and now you're in the place where you have to trust in God. So that's a great place to be in, by the way. So
I almost prefer to be in that place. I've been in both. I almost prefer to be in the place where I'm trusting.
I know.
It's scary.
Before I had a wife and children and a house and debt, I when I was a brand new Christian, I remember praying boldly and just with all confidence, bring it on, God. Whatever you need me to go through, whatever you need me to experience, however you can use me, use me. And then you get married and you're like, you got this extra soul in your life. And you're like, all right, God. So yeah, use me, man. But just take care of my wife, though. Take care of us. Then we have kids, and then we have a house. Hey, Lord, take care of my house. And now I'm praying to protect these things that in the end, God doesn't want us to totally focus on, right? So it gets harder and harder as you collect things and people in your life.
I am grateful for the wife that I have because. Yes, I have a wife and kid in house, and I routinely blow stuff up like that. Hey, God, I'm trusting you. Oh, crap.
All right, prayer warriors. You just heard Zach. Pray for his wife. Continue to have the patient grace to love him as he is.
I've been a worrier most of my life. So when things are good, that scares me as much as when I'm already got something to worry about. It's
a great owner then.
Bad life to live.
Great owner. That's the way you need to lead your business. Be afraid every day and stay humble. So that's beautiful.
I got another book recommendation, Doug.
Oh boy.
Chase the Lion, Mark Batterson.
Okay.
Yeah. Sounds like a book about cocaine.
It's actually this is where the reference from David's Mighty Men came in. Okay. And so it's basically talking about casting a dream that's bigger than you, right? Like, because one of his mighty men, it talks about like just like doing these crazy burn the ship kind of dream things, right? Mm-hmm. One of the three famous ones decides to go and chase this lion in the middle of the winter, like into a pit, right? Like, so that's kind of what this is talking about. It's talking about having these bigger, crazier dreams and trusting God with it. And I think that's the only reason my wife hasn't left me is because she knows, like, if I'm doing something stupid like that, there's been a lot of prayer, and it's not all my stupid. There's a lot of trust and faith going into that season.
I'm chasing my line right now.
Yeah, you are. And that was the point. Like, that's why I brought that in. That was the point. We all have these different things that we're chasing, and some of us have chased our lions for quite some time, and we're in our older season, not our old season, Doug, older season, and we've maybe wisened up more, like, Saul.
You guys are getting old fast. That's how.
Thank you for letting me read that, Doug. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to bring up what you said the other day. It's actually been eating at me pretty bad, the way you use the word toxic, and you're not a bad. You don't say negative things very often, so I had to hear what the point of that toxic comment was, because I thought, man, I've been that guy. 3 o'clock rolls around, I'm like, I'm not taking that call because it's going to ruin my day. But then other days, it's like, hey, it's 3 o'clock. Can I have another call? So there are, you have to see the employee for the average, not the singular point.
Of course, absolutely.
I think this has been a great discussion, guys. I'm feeling good today. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. We have Phil Melenhow coming on with me tomorrow.
Say it again.
Melenhow.
Thank you.
I know how to say it. So at ASTI, before we did our first podcast together, he phonetically spelled it out, and I practiced it over and over over again. Someday I'll pronounce Anthony Cotto's name correctly. Maybe. Or David. My buddy David up there, our R&D appliance in New York. Someday I'll pronounce his last name right. I somehow add extra syllabuses in his name. Anyway, so Phil is coming on tomorrow. We're gonna continue the conversation on casting vision, goal setting, some of that kind of stuff, and like how that pertains to inspiring, retaining employees and such. So we'll continue the conversation tomorrow. Doug, Andrew, I appreciate you guys. This has been fun. I love it.
I'm glad to be on with Andrew finally.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Y'all have a great day. Get out there, love some people well, and we will see you tomorrow morning.
Got
Peace.
it. See ya.